In this video, I'll discuss creating new documents in Adobe InDesign CC 2015. Okay, so we go to File and then choose New, and it's a flyout. So we have three options: Document, Book, or Library. Now, a library is just a group of assets that you can access. Document and Book are different types of documents. Document will be a single document, and Book would be a group of different documents, for instance, chapters in a book. So we'll start with Document. I'll go ahead and click that, or you can use Control-N. Now, in the new document dialog, we have some options here. We have presets, and we don't have any right now, but once we've actually modified our document, we could click on this icon right here, and that would save the document to a preset. And right next to it is the delete document preset if we want to delete an existing preset. The next is the intent. Now, when you're creating a document in InDesign, it's really important to understand what you intend to do with it. If you want to send it to print, for example, either to your desktop printer or to a commercial printer for offset printing, you want to choose the print option. But if you're looking to design for the web or digital publishing, which includes other types of delivery methods other than the web, then you'll want to choose one of those two options. And that'll just help sort of set the document up for the intent that you want to use it for. I'll go ahead and stick with print. Now, the next is the number of pages, and this really depends on what type of document you want to create. For example, if I was creating a trifold brochure, I would choose 2 pages. And the reason for that is you have a front and a back on a trifold. Now, facing pages is checked. I want to uncheck that. The reason being that with a trifold, you don't have facing pages. You just have a front side and a back side. If you were creating a book format, like a newsletter, for instance, you would want that facing pages option because then you would have your left and right pages. The start page, we can change that if we want to. No need to with a trifold brochure. And then we have the option of saying, okay, go ahead and create that primary text frame for us. And I'll go ahead and check that. The next is the size. Now, the size offers many of the different standard sizes that you want to use, for instance, letter, legal, tabloid, and so on. Or you can choose from US business card, compact disc, or create a custom size. I'll go ahead and stay with letter because a typical trifold brochure is going to have 3 panels and be an 8.5 by 11 document. Now, the width and the height need to be changed here. Notice the width is 8.5 and the height is 11. Typically, a trifold is going to be in landscape format, not portrait. So I'll go ahead and click here to change that. Notice how the sizes have swapped. So we can change the orientation from portrait to landscape and back to portrait if we want to. I'll go back to landscape. Now here with a trifold, we want to set the number of columns. And of course, a trifold is typically going to have 3 columns. So I want to set that for 3 columns or enter a value manually. Now the gutter refers to the space between the columns. That's a typical typesetting or graphic designer's term. And right now it's 1667 inches or 0.1667 inches. And that's the default. I'm going to leave it at that because that's the standard gutter size. And then you can set the margins. So you can stick with that 1/2 inch, or I'm going to go with 1/4 inch. Now, when I make that change and click on any of these other windows, notice how they all change. That's because this chain link is selected. That means everything is going to be set to the same. I could click that to deselect it and then make changes to the left, right, top, and bottom quite easily. So you can have them as irregular settings or just have them all the same. Now we also have bleed and slug. I'll go ahead and expand that. Now, bleed refers to the area at the edge of the page or beyond the edge of the page. And if you have a trifold brochure, typically it might be printed all the way to the edge of the page. And the way you print all the way to the edge of the page is to create bleed. What that means is there's extra area around the edges of the page, and the printer will print on an oversized document and then trim it down to 8.5 by 11. So I'll go ahead and set a bleed of 0.125. Typically 1/8 inch is a typical bleed. And go ahead and click there. Notice how all the settings changed because this chain link is selected here. Now, slug refers to area around the edges of your document that you can use to provide the printer with information. For instance, you could put copyright information or instructions for whoever's outputting the film or printing it, creating the plates. So you can set a slug, and I'll go ahead and set something like 5 inches. Now, a 5-inch slug gives me space around the edges. I'll go ahead and click on that chain link to give a 5-inch slug all around. And that'll just allow me to have some area that I can put in special instructions for the printer if I want to, or copyright information. Now, notice there's also a preview that can be checked. I'll go ahead and check that, and that'll show me a preview of the document. So as I make any changes here, I can go ahead and see those changes reflected right away. Notice, by the way, this red outline here is the bleed, and I'll go ahead and go back to portrait because you can see this blue line here represents that 5-inch slug that we created. So once you're happy with all your settings, go ahead and click OK. And you've created your new document. Now remember, we created a 2-page document, one for the front, one for the back. So if I go over to pages, notice here's the first page and here's the second page, side 1 and side 2. So it's quite easy to create a new document in InDesign. And just remember, you should be aware of the dimensions of the document and the various options before you go ahead and create it, and that includes what you're going to use it for, whether it be for print or for digital output. But if you do create a new document and then decide you want to change it later on, it's quite easy to do in InDesign.